Welcome to tonight's License Subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Mercy Ume, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on Council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection, Councillor Borakwan will take over for me. I would like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than their allocated time to speak, they must use the raise hand function so that they are not missed. I also ask that members keep your questions, comments brief to the point. Now I move to item 1 on our agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. None was received. Item 2, declaration of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest?
Chair.
None from me.
Thank you. Item 3, Popeyes, 3348 North End Road, London, SW6 1NB. I would like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. We should have with us Mike Browning, applicant's agent. Is Mike here?
Yes,
Mark.
yes, hello,
Mark.
it's Mark Browning representing Popeyes, and I'm joined by Guion, who's the head of operations, and he's just to the right of my screen.
Okay, he's with you. That is Ewan. Egoan?
Yeah, that's me. Hello.
Okay, thank you. We should have Adrian Overton, licensing team manager. Adrian.
Present. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we should have Lona McKenna, licensing officer.
Yes, present, Chair.
Thank you. We should have with us Emmanuel, the council licensing legal officer.
Present, Chair.
Okay. We have objecting. We have Chioma Omonakwe, environmental protection specialist team.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. We should have with us Christopher, environmental protection nuisance investigator. Is he here?
No, it's not here.
It's not here. So you're going to be speaking on behalf on. Okay, that's fine. We have John Skolden, the resident. John.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. We have Charlotte Dexter here, resident and Barclay Road Conservation Area Neighborhood Watch.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, good evening. We should have with us Valeria and joined with Andrea Manning. Valeria?
Yes, I'm here, present.
Thank you. We should have with us Yona Presti. Yona? We should have Sarah Chambers.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for coming. And now, procedure. Before we consider the application today, may I confirm that in addition to the main agenda, supplementary agenda A was published on 24th of January, 2025, and supplementary agenda B was published today, 27th January, 2025. I hope everyone received that. So I quickly...
Sorry to interrupt you, Chair. There's also Andrew Noakes on the call who submitted a representation, but he didn't confirm his attendance until late. So he did submit a valid representation, so he can speak this evening, but he won't be on your Chair's notes.
Okay, who are you talking about? So
Andrew Noakes.
Andrew Noakes, okay. But somebody's representing him.
No, he's here. He's here. He didn't confirm his attendance until late. He's representing himself.
Okay. So, okay. Kinnock. Okay. I will quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. We will hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application, the responsible authorities, the objectors, finally the applicant. Usually, each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party other than the person present at the hearing, except committee members. No party has the right to ask questions to any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberation. Upon its return, I will announce committee's decision. Before we begin, I know that there are a considerable number of objections this evening, which will take long time. Please, can those speaking do their best to avoid repetition where possible? Presenting officer, can I ask the licensing presenting officer, Nona, to introduce the application?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. On the 16th of October 2024, the Licensing Authority received a valid application for a new premises licence in respect of the premises known as Popeyes 348 North End Road, London, Southwest 6 1NB, which was submitted by Mr. Mark Browning of BA Law on behalf of PLK Chicken UK Limited, the applicant. The applicant has applied for a new premises licence to permit late night refreshment indoors and outdoors as outlined. The provision of late night refreshment indoors and outdoors Monday to Sunday from the hours of 11 p.m. till 2 a.m, with the hours that the premises is open to the public from Monday to Sunday from 7 a.m. till 2:30 a.m. On the 24th of October 2024, following receipt of the representation from the Environmental Protection Team, the applicant agreed to reduce the hours applied to as follows, which was what we're considering this evening. The provision of late night refreshment indoors and outdoors, Sunday to Wednesday from 11 p.m. until midnight, and Thursday to Saturday from 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. The provision of late night refreshment outdoors only, Sunday to Wednesday from midnight until 1 a.m, which will be deliveries only. There'll be no access to members of the public at the premises. And Thursday to Saturday from 1 a.m, from 1 a.m. until 2 a.m, which again would be deliveries only, no access to members of the public. The new proposed hours to open to the public for the premises are Sunday to Wednesday from 7 a.m. until midnight, and Thursday to Saturday 7 a.m. until 1 a.m. The applicant has proposed a number of additional steps to promote the 4 licensing objectives within their operating schedule if the application is granted this evening. During the consultation period, the licensing section received 21 representations objecting to the licensing application, 1 on behalf of the Environmental Protection Team, 1 on behalf of the Barclay Road Conservation Area Neighbourhood Watch, also known as the Barclay Road Residents, 1 on behalf of the Vanston Place Management Company, 1 from the co-chair of the Walham Green Paul Canal, 1 from the secretary of the Fulham Island Residents Association, and 16 received from local residents, all who objected to the grant of the licence application. I can confirm that in addition to the main agenda, supplementary agenda item A was published and circulated to all parties on the 24th of January 2025, which included additional information from objectors. Supplementary agenda item B was published and circulated to all parties on the 27th of January 2025, which included further additional information from the objectors. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Lona. Now I'm going to go to responsible authorities. Since Chima Omonakwe is here, Chima, you have 5 minutes to do your representation.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. We, the Environmental Public Protection Team, received this application, and we looked at the history of the premises and identified that there has been complaints made to our department regarding excessive noise. Now, having considered the application on the basis of the licensing objective, prevention of public nuisance, we considered that the hours are so unreasonable and doesn't align with the existing premises, existing other business premises in the area. Also, in consideration of the application, we identified that there are residents living directly above the premises as well. And given the time they're proposing, we considered that the background noise levels in that vicinity does reduce significantly. And as such, the behavior of patrons, the noises from plant and activities, people loitering around, is likely to exacerbate the complaints that we're already receiving. Now, and as such, we consider that the application is likely to undermine the licensing objectives, with specifically prevention of public nuisance. On those bases, we objected to it, to the application going forward. Now, as Lorna made during her opening presentation, there's a reduction in hours proposed by the applicant. Then on those bases, we still consider that whilst we do have complaints about plant noise, if the premises is opening at a later hours, then these noises have very high frequencies and very, very low wavelength that could go through the building structures. And as such, these sort of complaints are very difficult to investigate as a potential statutory nuisance. So we consider it as a theme that is appropriate to prevent the problem at this stage than investigating it in the future, which will obviously be a problem for the team. So on this such, the negotiation with the applicant did not yield the desired result. We were expecting that the proposed trading hours be reduced further in order for us to withdraw the representation that we've made. But up to this moment, all the negotiations fell through, hence we are here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chima. Now I'm going to go to the objectors, and I have John Scolding. And John, you are representing 6 people, including yourself, making it 7. Is John here?
I am here, yes.
Okay. John, is it possible we see your face? Is it possible?
I will have to start with an apology, which is not a great thing. I'm neither at my usual place of work or at my home. I'm relying on someone else's IT. Fortunately, there are many people on the call who will be able to testify that by not seeing me, you're not exactly missing much. But on this occasion, I've tried to make a camera work, but actually, I'm afraid I can't.
Okay, that's fine. And John, and you are representing Joshua, Ashunkan, Antonita, Serena, Catherine, and Knut. Am I right?
I am. Correct, yeah. Yes.
Okay. You have 35 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. Madam Chair, committee, thank you. I think the best place to start here is indeed with the application. So if I could ask those who have the agenda pack in front of them, the kind of nub of the application is, I'm going to start at page 34. It starts at the top by talking about Popeye's Hammersmith. The application, it says 2 lines down, is made until 2 a.m. as the premises are situated in a commercial area. And it slightly worried me, the reference to a commercial area, because I think, as we've already heard from Chima, anyone standing outside the building will know that the site is part of the North End Road, and the North End Road is very typically what I understand is referred to as mixed use and semi-commercial. Let me just explain what I mean by that. I mean that typically the ground floor is a commercial or retail unit, but immediately above and surrounding the site on both sides of the road are residential premises on the first and very often also on the second floor. What I also mean is that the area is highly residential. Just to put that into context, there are 25 adjoining roads to the North End Road, from broadly where Papa John's is at the south, if you head north, all the way up to West Kensington Tube Station. And 24 of those 25 are like my road. They are wholly residential roads. The entire area is intensely residential. And so I found it slightly unusual that it was described as a commercial area. I'm not sure that is accurate. It's semi-commercial, or I think mixed use is the correct phrase for it. And I think that is very important in terms of the context of this. Now, I did have the opportunity to speak to Mr. Browning on one occasion. Unfortunately, we couldn't follow up on it. But it was interesting that during those discussions, he described the application as for standard hours, given the area. And I suspect that might explain something to do with the application, because as they regard the area as commercial rather than mixed use or a residential area, then I can understand that these longer hours beyond those hours recommended in the statement of licensing policy might be regarded as standard in commercial settings, but not in mixed use or residential areas. Another feature of the application, if we look down a little further on page 34, but I think this is also relevant to page 18. In fact, I'll start with page 18. There's a part of the application where towards the top in the large box it says Popeyes, and then in large capital letters, does not serve alcohol. And I go from page 18 to page 34, which says that much of the late night concerns are caused by alcohol-led premises. Well, it's certainly true, and just for a bit of context, I've been on Tournai Road for 24 years, and I've been involved in these matters for probably over 2 years. And it's certainly true that some antisocial behaviour is driven by alcohol. I don't think we can disagree with that. But in fact, a large amount of late night concerns have nothing to do with alcohol. Just to put that in context, I mean, Amigos, which is virtually next door, KFC, Trapazza, the former Nando's, McDonald's, Morley's, Select Chicken, Chicken Cottage, none of these have alcohol or offer alcohol. So I think, again, I noticed the large capital letters stressing this point, but I must say I think that needs to be put into context here. We as residents have a lot of noise-related issues and other crime and antisocial behaviour issues and concerns about our children, and many of those are not related necessarily to alcohol or bad behaviour driven by alcohol, though it is undoubtedly an issue. So I hope I set a bit of a context there in terms of what a lot of us will recognise as being the true nature of the vicinity, the area that this application has to be seen in. Then I think it's important because if we look at the response from the noise nuisance team, and for those with the agenda pack, I'm going to start at page 44 and John Garcia's email of the 18th of October. There he says there are many residential premises and this application to extend the hours can cause disturbance and significant increase in noise complaints. So again, he stresses the residential nature, not the commercial nature of the premises. We think if it is approved, more businesses will follow them requesting to extend also their hours of trading. And I'm going to come back to that last point about the extension by many businesses. If we then look again at, I think it is page, I'm now going to go to page, is it 53? Sorry, I've got lots of papers in front of me. Yes, very helpfully, again, John Garcia in his email of 31 October actually goes on to state there's insufficient evidence to support the extension of the business hours as they encroach into the night time. The applicant did not provide the noise management report to support this application. And very helpfully, he begins to list some of the key noise nuisance concerns here. A lot of them, late night hours, are driven by the use of petrol or diesel dispatch and delivery riders, one who congregate because there are a large number of takeaways in the area. They congregate on Tournai and Haldane and Halfords and Shorrods waiting for orders. Now, when I spoke to Mr. Browning, he did point out to me that Popeyes, I think, and obviously if I get this wrong, Mr. Browning will correct me later, operates slightly differently in that for delivery drivers, it doesn't allow them onto the premises. The delivery is actually given to them outside the premises at the door. But to us as residents, that really doesn't make much difference, because if you think about it, you still have to have a delivery driver make a journey to arrive at the site, and you still have to have a delivery driver take it away and deliver it somewhere within the vicinity. And so you still have two journeys by a bike, which invariably is very noisy. And of course, later at night, when it's much quieter, the sound of these bikes is much more penetrative and louder and causes more disturbance. But it's helpful that Mr. Garcia captured some of those issues. And also, in fairness and recognition, there's a letter at an email at page 102, which also talks about objecting on the grounds of noise nuisance from food delivery riders, loud noises, music, revving of moped engines, which would disturb the sleep of local residents. And then interestingly says in the second paragraph that operators, from my experience, tend to disassociate themselves from the activity of food dispatch riders. I think that is, in some senses, true with the application. If we go back, I mean, there are a lot of statements in here, which I'm going to come to, about Popeyes working hard to ensure that their operations don't impact, and taking into consideration neighbours, neighbours and residents' concerns. But when we actually look at the response, and now I think this is quite important, because Mr. Browning, I think, responded to Mr. Garcia's email of the 18th of October. And for those looking at the pack, this is around pages 438, 39 through to 40, 41, 43. And what appears to happen here in response to Mr. Garcia's concerns is an email from Mr. Browning, which lists three operators on the North End Road who have later hours, not as late as the ones that they are applying for, but do have later hours. So again, let's put that slightly into context. Again, from Papa John's up to West Kensington, there are 32 takeaways or retail units reliant on delivery or dispatch riders. In response, Mr. Browning has cited 3 of those 32 as having slightly later hours. The hours that are applied for, let's be in no doubt, are highly unusual. Not only do they go beyond the guideline hours in the statement of licensing policy for mixed use areas, they are considerably later, as going into the night time. But still, very helpfully, Mr. Browning on pages 38, 39 responds to that. But his view, I think, in relation to times for delivery only, so I understand under the application, delivery would be allowed from 11 o'clock to either 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, depending on which day of the week it is. But he says then that the premises would be closed to the public, hence no cumulative impacts or licensing objective issues. Now, I find that statement really unusual and difficult to accept, not least because he will have seen the benefit of the noise nuisance team's view. He didn't respond to that view from the noise nuisance team by addressing the noise issue. He ignored it. He didn't mention noise. He didn't deny that there were noise. He simply said, well, don't worry, it's okay. 3 people have got these hours, so we should get them. No reference to the real issue, which is the underlying noise nuisance that it can cause. But having said that, yes, there are statements here about Popeyes having, taking great care of their residents and the neighbourhood. And so I thought it was useful just to look at the conditions momentarily, again, pages 34, 35 for those in the pack, to see what conditions and what suggestions were being made by the applicant to address the noise nuisance concerns. And this is particularly relevant because on page 6 of the pack, paragraph 5.2, it clearly states that the licensing authority will require applicants to detail in their operating schedule. It addresses 4 issues, but I'm going to focus on the third one, how they intend to prevent nuisance arising, prevent disturbance, protect amenity. The licensing authority will not permit the extension unless it is satisfied that the licensing objectives would be met. And so then I looked at the 15 conditions. And 2 caught my eye. Well, of course, number 6 caught my eye because, of course, it immediately refers to the potential for deliveries to residential addresses after 11 o'clock up until potentially as late as 2 o'clock in the morning. Number 8 seemed to be the best stab in town at the applicant's consideration of this issue. Delivery drivers will be managed by staff to ensure that they do not cause a nuisance. Well, perhaps later on, we can ask Mr. Browning and my apologies, the other representative from Popeyes, how that is going to play out and what real enforceable things they can do to manage noise nuisance away once a delivery driver has left the premises. I think it's a critical issue. One I can't see addressed in the papers, but which hopefully it will be. So what I said earlier was that there was a statement about no cumulative impact and there were no licensing issues. I mean, I've lived on Tournai Road now, as I said, for 24 years. We in the summertime can have anything up to 40 bikes on the end of the road waiting for deliveries. They very often speed. We've had numerous instances of them riding on the pavement. We've had numerous instances of cars being scratched. Lots of other antisocial littering behaviour going on. They use our roads, understandably, to cut through to get to a delivery as quickly as possible. I understand in many cases they're rewarded by reference to how quickly they can take a meal and deliver it. So understandably, zooming around our streets late at night, invariably, I have to say in my experience at speeds greater than the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, is all very noisy and very disturbing. Why am I making such a point about this? Well, I think there is bigger context here. It was alluded to in the noise nuisance submissions from that we've heard of earlier from Chima. These hours are really important. They're really important to our children. They're really important to us. And they're really important because fundamentally it's when we sleep. And the right to sleep, the right to quiet enjoyment is long enshrined, as I'm sure Mr. Browning knows, in our laws. And it is well established that whilst it is a very nice thing to have, a piece of chicken delivered down a road at a late night hour, it's a nice to have thing, and it's a luxury for some who can afford it. But of course, it's not essential, and sleep is essential. I've got a daughter doing GCSEs at the moment. I can tell you that if she doesn't get sleep, her ability to concentrate at school and all the facts sadly show the ability to perform in exams are significantly reduced. I have people on my street who work long hours in the NHS and are care workers, real diverse mix. I also need my sleep, and the noise that these bikes generate, 5, 10, even whatever time at night is audible and wakes people up. Sleep, it isn't a nice thing to have. It is more than that. It is an essential right. And sleep, it's essential that everybody gets it. And late night into the night deliveries, I'm afraid, will give rise to a significant risk of sleep being affected. And I'm not going to go into now all the well-documented harms and other illnesses that are connected to the loss of sleep, but I thought it was very mindful that Agenda Pack B, page 9, also included information about London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham being sadly the most sleep-deprived London borough, and that doesn't surprise me. I also think we have to take into account the wider locality, and I'm just, Madam Chair, did you say I had until 7:15?
Yes.
You're saying that and you sound reluctant, but I will try and speed up. So look, you have to take into account the locality. It is unfortunate, even if I was recently at a meeting where we were given some crime, a very interesting meeting with the local police force. We were given some crime statistics for a month. If you look at those statistics over a year, sadly, the label of being a crime hotspot is supported by the fact that crime across a number of crimes against women, sexual violence, theft, robbery, etc., harm is above the national average. We also, you can't not take into account the vicinity. I think the fact that 4 roads north, we have the West London Drug Centre, we have a lot of vulnerable people in the area. There is a part of the statement of at the beginning of the agenda pack, I think it is on page 8 at paragraph 5.5, saying that where appropriate, take into account the licensing authority should take into account the cumulative effect of the number, type and density of licensed premises. Well, I've mentioned there are 32 in a very short area. Consideration will be given to the proximity to any drug and alcohol treatment centre, any department or homeless hospital. But again, I can understand that that maybe wasn't the focus of the application, given that, as I've pointed out, the application regarded the area as being commercial, and maybe didn't have or wasn't sensitive to many of these other issues. I'm going to go back to the issue mentioned in the John Garcia issue, which was that he correctly identified that if these extended hours were permitted, other retailers would quite frankly follow suit. So going back to my numbers, if you take 32 retailers, let's just hypothesize. Let's just say half of them decide that they'd like to have the same trading hours and deliveries going on till 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know, and I'm sure Mr. Browning will be able to tell me, but let's just say these businesses need 15 deliveries an hour. Okay, to make them work, to be whatever it is. That's the minimum business they need to do. So very quickly, you get 16 businesses at 15 deliveries an hour. Simple maths, 240 orders, and then we add in Popeyes, assuming Popeye also does 15 deliveries an hour, you get to 255 orders in an hour. In a 3-hour period, that translates to 765 orders. And that's over 1,500 journeys. Because remember, to satisfy an order, the noisy bike has to arrive at the premises, probably down our residential road. Nobody has any control where it goes, and then has to collect the order and go away again. So on a simple, and these numbers could be absolutely scary, by the way. I think my numbers are relatively conservative at assuming half retailers go for it and 15 deliveries an hour. You could very, very quickly get yourself to close to 1,000 orders very quickly, and the best part of 1,500 to 2,000 bike journeys between 11 o'clock at night and 2 in the morning. I'd just ask you to reflect on what that would mean for the 24 out of 25 residential roads that I've referred to. It's already noisy. Believe you me, the spectre of these numbers is quite frankly terrifying, but I'm a resident and I'm pretty certain I am the oldest on this call and I need my sleep more than probably the rest of you. I will also mention a point which I have to be careful with. I've been doing these for a number of months now, possibly a couple of years. And of course, this is not the first time the committee has met the issue of long late night hours. There have been many decisions related to Papa John's, Select Chicken, Chicken Cottage, Morley's, all of which looked for longer hours. Now, previous decisions before Mr. Browning puts his hand up and raises an objection, they're not binding on this committee. Okay, they're not. They are not required or obliged to follow a previous decision. My point is that I think factually, those decisions were nearly always rejected. I think residents need to see some consistency here, unless there is a significant distinguishing factor that takes the case away and means that it should be given special treatment. But I'm just going to read one paragraph from the 7 February 2024 decision in Chicken Cottage, paragraph 34. For those who want to look it up. It was the committee's considered opinion that allowing the premises to operate for delivery only until the early hours of the morning, even with the conditions proposed by the applicant, would have an adverse impact on the licensing objectives and in particular on local residents, as this will increase noise, nuisance and antisocial behaviour in the area. Now, I personally, not my job to do the committee's job, but mine personally think there is virtually no difference between this case and the others that have been decided on late night hours in the last 2 years. I could go on, but as I'm under pressure to wrap up, I will wrap up. I have one last point, and I must admit this has come to my attention relatively recently in the last week. I had understood that the business should not trade after 11 o'clock at night. Indeed, when you go to its front door, it says it closes at 11, 7 days a week. But sadly, that's not the case, because it has become apparent that whilst it may close to the public at 11 o'clock, it has been doing delivery work. And I appreciate this is an unusual position to take in a hearing. I will, following this call, send my evidence to Mr. Overton. And of course, the normal procedure would be for enforcement. Of course, I fully understand that we have a representative from Popeyes on the call and that Mr. Browning is here. So I suspect, as if by a miracle, tomorrow, Popeyes might close at 11 o'clock. But I have a receipt in front of me, 23rd of January. The order was placed at 23:16. It was delivered very shortly afterwards to a property around 45 metres away from the applicant's site. My concern, put simply, is that the applicant currently is not complying with its licensing terms. It is in breach of the current licence. Why worry about that is that giving applicants who can't comply with basic licensing terms further hours is not a good thing. I think if, of course, there was an enforcement procedure and it was verified, and I fully accept there is a procedure that has to be gone through, I'm not denying that, but I think residents need to be reassured that for those people who want the benefit of trading on the North End Road, then, quite frankly, they should sign up to the rules and play by the rules. And currently the rules says you shut. Well, at the moment, they're not even attempting to shut. They're actively doing delivery, food deliveries, I suspect up until midnight, but I, in truth, don't have evidence as to when it starts or stops. But the very minimum we should expect from any operator, not just Popeyes, is that it plays by the rules and complies with the license. I will invariably scan the information I have, Mr. Overton, and send it to you by email tomorrow. I appreciate I'm putting everyone on the spot, but I do think it is highly unfortunate because remember, in the application, it said, we take these issues really seriously. Well, how seriously? There was one condition that was virtually meaningless. And if the point is taken that there are deliveries being dispatched after 11 p.m., then I really do wonder how seriously they take these things. But Because I'm looking at my watch, I'm actually going to wrap up 5 minutes early because otherwise, Madam Chair, you won't be happy. And I appreciate we have a lot to get through. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So still have 5 minutes, but that's fine, John. Thank you for that. Now we have Charlotte. Charlotte, you are representing Miranda and Amanda, and I'm going to allow you 15 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. John and other residents will be covering some of these issues. So what I'm going to do is quickly go through the pack and make a few comments. On the agenda pack, page 3, John covered already that actually there are 2 representations from noise nuisance environmental officers, including the one on page 102 from Kevin. So it's just important that we all know that, and the committee probably has caught up with that already, but there were 2 different emails with different comments, and they're all relevant, obviously, and all valid. On page 7 and 8 of the agenda pack, I want to point out to new people here, especially on the call, that the box with hours in it and so on, this showed up in for the first time in the last licensing policy. It's very important to read it. It says to act as a guide, and we have set out the suggested closing times. Now that's code for this is not in the law. It's not anywhere. It's an idea. It's something that I assume the licensing committee, when they have their annual meeting, they agreed on these things. But it truly is a guide. And what we're finding is that this guide is all in residents' opinion is already sort of outdated because it doesn't it simply doesn't take into consideration the landscape that we have around here in places like North End Road that are very much commercial at the bottom and residential at the top. But anyway, it's a guide, it's suggested, it's not written in black and white, it's not in the Licensing Act, it's not in any planning act or anything like that. And it's important for new people to know that. Okay, I'm moving on to page 40 of the agenda pack. Here, the hours for Domino's are mentioned. Now, I'm representing Barclay Road residents and our conservation area and our neighborhood watch. The reason I'm involved in a lot of these licensing applications is because we are an amazingly interesting cut through for lots and too many delivery drivers who come from somewhere, cut down Barclay Road, go up Effie Road, zoom across Eelbrook Common and down into the Peterborough estate to get their bonuses for delivering as quickly as they can. So we're constantly hearing these bikes and being awoken by them and so on, and that's all been covered. Now, Domino's is on our corner. Domino's is Fulham Road and Barclay Road. It's been there for yonks, 25 years at least. And I know the manager. Of course, we talk with Perry's, we talk with Domino's, we talk with the pubs around us. We know our neighbors, they know us. And for a long time, they've started closing their front door at 10:30 or 11 latest, depending on how many people are there, crowds and all that, because they just can't manage anything. And they've given up calling the police because it's not a priority, which is totally understandable. I'm not complaining about the police, but they can't get any support if and when they have brawls or people come in and they start fighting with each other and etc. So they're closing on their own, but delivering, and they're not taking, interestingly, after 10:30, 11, they don't take any kind of, people can't pick up there. That's what I want to say. They can't collect. They're only doing then deliveries. So that's how they're kind of managing their problems. Okay, John pointed out from page 54 about insufficient evidence and the applicant not providing things that the environmental officers wanted. I move on to our own representation. Many of these points have already been brought up. They're here in writing as evidence for you, the committee. You need evidence in writing. You need verbal evidence from this YouTube transcript, etc. So I will leave those, but call your attention to the bottom of page 56 about the bus stop that is directly to in front of, just adjacent to Popeyes. And this bus stop at night is kind of a breeding ground for fights and all sorts of things that we talk about at our quarterly meetings with police. So it's a known kind of problem area, especially at night. And sometimes the buses don't stop because they see problems. And I guess TfL tells them I'm guessing, don't stop. So that's one reason. Often you'll see on Nextdoor people saying the bus didn't stop last night and I was kind of get home. Those are usually women who post on Nextdoor. So there's a lot of circumstantial evidence around that bus stop that there are problems. They continue to be problems, etc. I also on page 57 mentioned that this whole industry of gangs has developed among delivery drivers. They start to premises like Popeyes opens, and then one guy kind of owns that area, and he does deals with guys who can stop there and wait, and deals that guys with, they're sort of shoved away. So we just have an underlying kind of gang thing generally and specifically happening in Fulham. I'm aware of this in Berkeley Road because a lot of the guys wait at the top of Berkeley Road. I talk to them sometimes, and then once in a while they say, "Hey, I gotta go. And one of them once said to me, yeah, the guy's coming. I gotta go. It's amazing. It's a whole industry. And I just want the committee to be very, very aware of it. It's very real. Would love it if we could get it investigated. Who knows? But it is real. And I'm very willing to look more into it and gather more evidence if that were needed by the committee or needed at some kind of future hearing. I want to also say that the 7 a.m. opening of takeaways, this is mentioned several times about children. The Mayor of London's enactment of no takeaways within 400 meters of schools. This is also enshrined in our 2018 planning policy, as the councillors will know. I also want to say that I was a witness of the what is really illegal building work being done by Popeyes on 16th of September on a Monday night. I was coming back from Heathrow Airport, and there was quite a bit of traffic around 8:30, 9 o'clock, I would estimate it. I could figure that out if it's needed again for the future. Screeching, yelling, cutting metal, the whole thing. My husband said, "What's going on there?" Oh, and I have to admit, I should have called noise nuisance, but did I? No, I was very tired. And I didn't do it because I knew it would take up 2 hours of my time. And anyway, others will talk about that. I now go on to Dungagan House, which is directly sort of across and behind St. John's Church. Amanda can't be with us tonight here. Her husband had a stroke. So she's spoken at many of these hearings. The committee members will know her very well. And she's very concerned again about the noise and nuisance that they have drivers using a corner out in front of them to defecate and to urinate. They have drivers zooming by. This is a new building that got planning permission about 10 years ago. So unfortunately, the insulation is so good. They don't have air conditioning, but they have to open their windows at night. So they hear a lot more in the spring, summer, and fall. She goes on to explain that they have 42 apartments. there are, a good 100+ people there, and delivery bikes and the noise and the nuisance are their nemesis. People have a hard time sleeping, etc. They object to this application in full. She included pictures which show the convergence of Vanston Place, Farm Lane, and there are signs there that say that bikes, mopeds and so on should not enter. Of course, they enter. They don't go at 20 miles an hour. We can assure you of that. The typical problems. The reason for newcomers here is that we have to keep repeating these things because the committee has to base their evidence on what was submitted and what was said tonight, not from something else before. So sometimes we have to bring the same information to the committee for the specific license. Going on, catty corner from Dungagan House is Fulham Island, which has Vagabond Wines and a few other shops, and the the residents association there is run by Miranda, who has also been at many licensing hearings. 32 flats, pedestrianized road, the same problems, obviously, so I won't repeat them. They are here in writing. And she too, on her final 2 pages, brings up the children from harm, school children, hot chicken, or chicken shops, takeaway outlets close to schools and so on. She's very concerned about this and goes into great detail about that. On page 102, again, that's the second environmental officer email from Kevin Ozoguene to Chuck's. And he says he's still objecting on the grounds and likelihood of noise nuisance from the premises and the delivery drivers. Moving on to supplemental A, page 4. We attached again for the committee. Some of them are aware of this statistic and this graphic where Hammersmith and Fulham has won the prize for the most sleep disturbed borough. It's a big document as needed for your evidence and any further evidence if this were taken forward somewhere. 5,536 noise complaints per 100,000. So we got the big prize. Second, I've collected, so we've been looking for statistics for the committee. And this time we have the prize. We found 2 sources for the committee for the future. One is the business information group that seems to have a lot of information, and they're creating various reports on request to, I guess, certain committees or whatever. I mean, you would know better than we. But in the gambling consultation, which I know is totally different than this, like, hot food and licensing, but they put in quite a bit of really interesting statistics that are applicable to tonight's application and moving forward to any application that we'll be looking at. So page 8 on supplemental A, you'll see that there's a defined cumulative impact zone. And this Popeyes is right in the middle of that gambling cumulative impact zone.
Charlotte, I'm afraid your time is up.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I have Valerie. Valeria, are you speaking together with Adrian Marin?
We'll speak separately. If that's okay, can Andrew Marin go first? Because that will make more sense.
Okay, please let's not have repetition of what has been said before, because it drags it on and on. Okay, Marin, you have 5 minutes then.
Okay. I'm a resident of one of the flats above Popeyes, 346 North End Road. So in our windows, they face both sides of the building. The condenser units at the back, they create noise, and on the other side, the delivery drivers. Me and my wife, we're disturbed by the delivery drivers. We hear the noise from all these motorcycles, and we are concerned that if the license is extended, they will create disturbances to our sleep. They also sometimes park on the bus stop, and I have attached the pictures where they break traffic rules. From what I see, Popeyes don't seem to be following the rules. I saw a screenshot in the evidence supplementary B agenda from Deliveroo app that indicated that Popeyes operate until 11:59 p.m. To add to that evidence, I wanted committee to know that 3 nights ago on Friday, me and my wife decided to check if it was true. And we were able to order inside Popeyes at 11:02. We were let in and we ordered. We have checks and everything. And also at 11:24 p.m. evening, we were able to order on Deliveroo app. We were standing on the corner of North End Road and Shorold Road, and the driver picked up the order at 11:48 p.m. at Popeyes and came just around the corner to deliver the package of takeaway from Popeyes right to us. We asked him if he came from that 348 North End Road from Popeyes, and he confirmed that. We have photos of handout and the delivery driver's photos, and we also have a receipt, and I can show you. Sorry, it's I can provide receipts later if you're interested. If they're not following the rules right now, how can we expect them to follow any law? They just break rules and licensing even right now.
Okay.
Additionally, to add some evidence to Jordan Garcia's email on page 54 about condenser units, we're being disturbed by condenser units producing high-pitched noise.
Okay, Mr. Manning, because two of you are speaking, can I stop you and ask Valerie to continue where you stopped, because it's two of you together. I'm told.
It's been 3 minutes. We have 5
That's
minutes.
3 minutes because two of you have 5 minutes together.
Oh,
Why?
that's
We're
fine.
separate people.
Yeah, because two of you are together, I'm told.
That's fine. I'll just summarize it then for you if that's I understand everyone's really
I'll continue about the noise.
Okay, continue. Then you can summarize at the end. Okay,
I have complained about multiple times to the council about the nuisance from the condenser unit. The number of complaint is 467964. And the recent complaint was successful. The council confirmed that the unit produces more sound than is reasonable. I also measured myself, and it's producing 54 decibels of noise inside my flat next to the window. And I have a video of that I can provide. This noise disturbs my wife, Andrew Noakes, and Jan, who is also on this call. During construction, we approached Popeye's manager and informed them that the noise from these units could be the issue, but they haven't reacted and haven't fixed this issue, even though previous tenant Nandas installed sound insulation around the unit and there was no noise. This proves that Popeyes does not really care about neighbors and does not think about it, even though if they claim that. I would like to ask the committee to reject application in full, and because the applicant cannot follow the rules, cannot promote the 4 licensing objectives, give sufficiently enough to follow the rules. It is a crime for them to be cooking hot food after 11 p.m. and then handing it to the deliverer for delivery. Thank you, committee, for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Now we have Jan Presti, and you have 15 minutes. You are going to be speaking on behalf of Stefano and Sean. Yana?
We cannot hear you, Jan.
Charles, is Yana there?
Yes, he's on the call, yes, and he's not muted either.
Yana, are you not going to be speaking on behalf of Stefano and Sean?
Apologies, he has microphone issues. Maybe you can give 5 minutes to Valerie and
No, I go to Sarah, then I'll come back to them, to Yana. Sarah?
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I'm Sarah Chambers. I'm the co-chair of the Walham Green Ward Panel. A lot of the points have already been raised, but I was just going to talk about the antisocial behaviour and crime. I was chairing the meeting that John Scordian was referring to the other day with local police officers and some council staff and probably about 20 local residents. We meet on a quarterly basis, have done for about 20 years with police officers and council staff, other local groups, faith groups, businesses, etc. And as we've referred to in previous hearings, this section of the North End Road is the official hotspot of Fulham. It is the only hotspot of Fulham. The rest of the borough's hotspots are in the north of the borough. This is the only hotspot in the south of the borough. As a result, quite a lot of police resources have to be applied or allocated to this part of the borough. There are all sorts of issues, antisocial behaviour, part of which is covered by the LET. Some of it is actual problems, as Charlotte alluded to, as fights, etc., crime, disorder, robbery, etc., taking place on the North End Road and on the side streets, all the residential side streets, because to be honest, there's only 3 commercial roads off the North End Road. All the others are side streets. We have got a considerable problem with crime and disorder. The actual epicentre is about, as I refer to in my submission, is about 2 minutes walk away at McDonald's, but it spreads north and south down the North End Road. We're also very concerned about the fact that the proximity to the Clem-Attlee estate, which is also the source, or rather the focus of quite a lot of resources from the police at the moment in the area. I know this because I attend and chair the quarterly meetings. I also have been a resident for 20 plus years in the neighbourhood. I know a huge number of people in the neighbourhood, but I'm also the chair of the Independent Advisory Group, and I probably go to about 10 meetings a quarter with the local police officers representing either the ward or representing the borough. This is a considerable issue. And to be honest, I can't quite square off this application and various other applications that have been made. It kind of conflicts with what the council is trying to achieve at the moment. There's a understandable focus by the council on reducing pollution, noise, on transforming the neighbourhood. The council have spent 2 million on upgrading the North End Road and hard landscaping it, putting in beautiful trees, etc. And to be honest, having more people standing around, delivery drivers, etc., to 2 in the morning is kind of conflicts with all the money that you've invested in the neighbourhood. We already have issues with drug taking, with NOx cylinders, etc., in all the side streets. I regularly see them on Shorrells Road, Haldane Road, Walham Grove, all the little side streets. But having even more people loitering around at night to 2 in the morning is really not going to help matters. And if the delivery drivers, a lot of the residents complain as well to the ward panel, because the delivery drivers aren't allowed to use the premises, to use their facilities. So they urinate and defecate in the side streets. This hasn't been addressed by McDonald's at all, or by Popeyes, or any of them. You know, if Popeyes are going to want to stay open later, at the very least, they should have the delivery drivers inside the premises, not standing outside, keeping the residents above such as Andre and the others and Jan awake. This really isn't good enough. But yeah, I think that as well as the noise issue, you need to also look at the crime and the antisocial behaviour. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Please, can we have Jan again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. You are representing Stefina and Sean. You have 15 minutes. Please, no repetition of what has been said before.
Brilliant. I'll try, Madam Chair, committee. Thank you. My name is Jan Prisset. I live directly above Popeyes at 348 Northern Road. I want to highlight that the entrances of the flats in this block are not on Northern Road, but on Shorroads Road through a mews called Reeves Yard. It's important to keep that in mind because we are actually experiencing nuisance from both sides. So firstly, I am representing Stefano Pistorio, who owns a flat at 350 Northern Road. That's directly to the side of Popeyes. His representation is on page 78 of the agenda pack tonight. He's concerned that having a food outlet open late at night, past 11 p.m. would only exacerbate already existing antisocial behavior, littering, noise nuisance, and would be detrimental to the residents' peaceful enjoyment of the property they live in. I am also representing Sean Cambion tonight. He owns a flat at 350 Northern Road to the side of Popeyes. His representation is on page 77 of the agenda pack tonight. He rents out his flat and his tenants have raised to him that they have been impacted by the noise coming from Popeyes, both in front on the Northern Road side and also at the back on the Shorroads Road side, where delivery drivers often wait to collect orders and chat loudly to each other or on the phone. Sean highlighted several concerns. Firstly, late night takeaway can attract patrons involved in late night drinking and can become a place where late nighters congregate, which can then result in increased noise levels late at night, public disorder, vandalism, and antisocial behavior, all of which is absolutely out of place at night in a residential area or in a mixed residential area, and is a big nuisance for the residents. He also, so Sean also recalled that Northern Road was designated a problem area in 2022 by the council relating to crime and antisocial behavior. As a consequence, landlords were required to pay around £500 for a license to help finance the cleaning up of the area. That's called selective licenses. And according to the Hammersmith and Fulham website, there are currently only 24 streets in the whole borough where selective licensing is required. And Northern Road is one of them and has been identified as a problematic street as early as 2016. So this is in the supplementary agenda B, page 4 to 7. Sean believes that granting the late night refreshment license for hot food after 11 p.m. requested by Popeyes would be contradictory to both the effort the council and the local community has put in to reduce antisocial behavior on that road. Finally, Sean raises the issue of littering, which already takes place regularly during the day and could become much worse at night when people, drunk or not, tend to be even less respectful. After all the work done by the council on landscaping and improving the aesthetic of Northern Road to create a nice environment for residents to live in, a late night delivery and takeaway shop has the potential to undo all of this work and make all of our flats difficult to live in and difficult to sleep in. I will now continue by sharing my own specific concerns and my own experience. As I said, I live on 348 Northern Road, just above Popeyes. My bedroom is to the front of the building, and my second bedroom is at the back of the building. I think there are probably around 10, 12 flats in that section of the block. But I'm not going to talk about that. We've already clarified that it's a mixed residential setting. The whole block was built probably around 100 years ago. So it was definitely not built for late night takeaway shops. The building is not soundproofed to that effect, and it's not vibration proofed to that effect. My first thought when I found out about Popeye's application was, how will I sleep? The lack of a good sleep is very detrimental to general health. That's very well documented, as John Colding already highlighted. And to me, living right on top of Popeyes, was very, very concerning, because I do work during the day and I need to be able to rest. On my representation, page 73 to 74, I mentioned I hear various noises from Popeyes in my bedroom facing Northern Road. On Sunday night, so that's last night, I went out to investigate, and at 11:15 p.m. and I crossed Northern Road to watch the activity at Popeyes, and I saw delivery drivers. Don't know if it's going to be visible, not really, but I can send it later. So I took photographic evidence at 11:40 p.m. last night that delivery drivers were going in and out collecting food bags for deliveries. And this was definitely way past their required 11 p.m. closing time. John touched on that already. As I said, the building is not vibration proofed, and vibrations are one of the nuisance from the business that I have been experiencing continuously. The extractor fans, the massive ducts attached to the back of the building, create vibrations that spread through the building. And these vibrations may not be very noticeable during the day with all the hustle and bustle of the city, but at night they can be very disturbing, and especially at the back of the building where my second bedroom sits. For example, to give an idea, in my kitchen, which is also at the back of the building, right next to the massive ducts that go along the wall, if I put two plates together after washing them, then they start shaking. So it is real, this vibration problem, and it prevents me from sleeping. Last night, for example, I can tell you exactly that they've switched this off at 33 minutes past midnight because suddenly silence occurred, and it felt like a big relief. I don't think they should be allowed to go on beyond 11 p.m. There are other noises. I also hear activity from Popeyes ground floor at the back of the building. So I can hear the play music in their kitchen, which is fine. That's not a massive problem, but it's just to highlight that the building is not made to. It's not soundproofed and can't really protect residents from these noises. As I said, we're exposed to nuisances and noises from two sides, Northern Road and Shorrold Road. And on both streets, I hear loud mopeds being revved up as delivery drivers come and go. I also hear drivers talking on the Northern Road side or on the Shorrold Road side, because they're often on the phone or talking to each other very, very loudly. I've seen also something that I want to mention, regular instances of delivery drivers standing or even sitting in front of Reeves Yard Gate. So that's the mews through which we enter our flats on Shorrold Road. And they just stand there or sit there. And sometimes they eat food and they leave their food, once they're done. They leave their rubbish. Also, when they sit there and we want to go in or out, they don't apologize, they hardly move. And it can be quite intimidating, especially for women, and it's even more intimidating at night. There's been instances where people appeared in front of the gate. Not sure if they were delivery drivers or drunk patrons, but it has happened before. And that was before 11 p.m. As I said, there's a problem. I mean, a lot of people have said it, so I'm not going to insist on it, but there's a big problem with littering. And Northern Road is a known crime hotspot. And I think having a food outlet open past 11 p.m. would only increase that trend. Funny enough, this morning brought me fresh evidence of the crimes and antisocial behavior that we've been discussing tonight. That is the mirror of my moped, which was broken during the night in a way that is clearly not accidental. So that's unfortunate, but I think it highlights what we've been discussing tonight. Also, one thing I want to point out, I believe I still have a little bit of time. I've noticed a correlation between takeaway shops opening hours and antisocial behavior and high noise levels. The former Nando's at 348 Northern Road had been closed for 9 months last year, and another takeaway shop, Amigos, was recently closed for a few months. Every time I noticed a significant decrease in noise, in littering, and in the number of delivery drivers coming in and out of the area. Every time these food outlets reopened, all these nuisances increased again. So having witnessed and experienced that correlation, I can only predict with certainty that we would see a dramatic increase in all the issues we've raised tonight if Popeyes is allowed to operate past 11 p.m. And that would be very detrimental to all residents of the block. It would also help if Popeyes did not open before 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. Okay. I think I missed out on someone, which is Andrew Anikos. Andrew?
Hi, Madam Chair. Yes, my name is Andrew Noakes. I live at 346B North End Road.
Okay.
So I'm right next to Popeyes.
Okay. You have 5 minutes, and please, no repetition of what has been said already.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, my living room, it faces onto North End Road, and my bedroom onto Reeves Mews. And I've experienced significant disturbances due to their operations. It started actually with construction. When they were setting up shop, I noticed that the construction noise began very early in the morning. We're talking like 7 a.m. And my neighbors even said that it was earlier than that they've heard them start construction. So this started to disturb my sleep, from the beginning. And this following this, the noise from my bedroom is at the back of the property. The condenser unit out the back, this is sort of a constant sound that I'm sort of dealing with every time I want to go to sleep. It's there, and it takes a lot to get over that. And the sleep disturbance is constant. But then if I want to go into my living room, I have the delivery drivers and the noise from the street, from the late night deliveries. So I'm in this. I have 3 issues that with Popeyes, and I think based on this, and the impact it's had on my life, I would respectfully ask that you refuse this application. And that's all the time I need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew. Sorry we missed you. Before I go to the applicant, please, can I have our officer, Adrian Overton, could you tell me about selective license concern Jan just mentioned and in his speech? Could you explain that to us?
Yes, yeah, Chair. I mean, I can tell you what I know about it, but I do know it's nothing to do with Licensing Act, with the Licensing Act 2003, and it concerns housing. So it's not something that can really be taken into account this evening when you make your decision. I'm not sure if a legal colleague, if Emmanuel will be able to comment on that as well.
Okay. Emmanuel, please comment on that before we go on to applicants.
Yeah, like Adrian said, it's not relevant to this application, so it can't be taken into account for this particular application.
Okay. In that case, thank you so much. Now we go to the applicant, and Mr. Mark Browning, I'm allowing you 70 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. I obviously want to try and respond to some of the issues that have been raised, and also to call Mr. Iwan to talk about specifics. Let's start at the beginning. Mr. Schooling had asked me, why did you apply in the way that you did initially? We had last year opened a restaurant in Hammersmith. We spoke to the local authorities. We were warmly welcomed by the LBHF authorities, and we opened the restaurant without any concern, and it's been running without concern since then. We mentioned that we were planning to open a restaurant in North End Road, and again, we received some encouragement from the authorities. So I do understand that we made the application on a similar basis. And when we heard from Environmental Health and indeed the residents, we thought that we must scale the application back. We took on, unfortunately, a premises with an awful lot of problems. I have received from the Environmental Health Department a report that shows that there were 6 complaints last year, that's when we didn't own the premises, regarding the units at the back, and they all came from one particular house. Actually, it's all 6 different complaints, but different names, same premises, and they all concerned the operation of the condenser unit. Now, Mr. Iwan he's the director of operations for Popeyes. He was very concerned to hear that, and he has ordered a whole range of works which will cost Popeyes an awful lot of money to try and stop this noise and put it right once and for all. Bearing in mind it was nothing to do with them in the first place, but he wants to make sure that this is addressed, to put attenuation on the condenser units. And I think today there has been a survey carried out by Chapman's, who are noise consultants. So that is very much something that's ongoing. When we received representations from residents talking about things like antisocial behaviour and all the rest of it, we took that very seriously, and we cut back the hours. I've also heard, obviously, today a lot more concerns, but they were based on, our hours were based on the various properties surrounding this one that had late trading. I mean, Mr. Schooling mentioned Chicken Cottage. Chicken Cottage has a license to 2 a.m. And had applied to 4 a.m. It was refused its license to go from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., but it still trades until 2 a.m. Then you have people like Pepe's trading till 1:30 p.m. You have Chicken Hub trading to 1 a.m. and Domino's till midnight. But we do, well, I'd like to just say that Popeyes is a very different sort of operation from some of the ones that residents may have experienced in the past. And the reason for that is that we have a higher staff to customer ratio than most, whereby we always have people available on the floor of the premises to assist. We have a special security system which links in directly to the police. And in terms of delivery drivers, we're very aware that that is a major problem. I mean, there are other restaurants, as you will know, where delivery drivers like to wait outside and wait for their next delivery. In our case, we only have a delivery driver approach when the delivery is ready to be picked up. And let me just briefly bring in Mr. Iwan to talk about that, and to talk about the number of deliveries per hour and that sort of thing, before I sum up and tell you what our proposal is after hearing the residents' concerns.
Thanks, Mark. So I think I think we were quoted in an example earlier where we talked about potentially 15 orders per hour, not a million miles off, but I think we're anticipating between 10 and 11 by our numbers, 10 to kind of 11 orders per hour coming out of this restaurant on delivery. So from a volumes perspective, and I guess my anticipation is, as much as I love the brand and I think it is a great addition to the local area, undoubtedly that's not going to be 11 more deliveries in the local area. We know that when we do this, we tend to take delivery from other sources. So you'll see a reduction, I'm sure, in McDonald's, in KFC, in Domino's, etc. And ultimately those 10 to 12 orders per hour will come from other sources, not additional delivery for that area. From a ratio perspective, I think Mark's just mentioned, we are not a typical QSR business, so we don't serve frozen food that is served by 2 people behind the counter. And minimum staffing in our restaurants is always 6. So even if we're only doing 11 orders, all our food is freshly cooked, fresh chicken, battered in-house with bread and flour, etc. So it's back to the point of number of people per order, if you like, or per customer. It's a proper setup and not a QSR business where you might get 1 or 2 people in the restaurants trying to throw food out as quick as they can.
Could you just deal quickly with the matter that I raised about the external plant at the premises? So that's been annoying residents for some time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this started back in October, as the residents will already know. So we inherited, I guess, a big problem from the previous tenant. We have since kind of listened. There's been various, I feel like I talked to George quite a lot from the Rental Protection Office. We've exchanged quite a lot of emails since kind of October, November, slight mixed messaging. I think in the beginning, we felt we were compliant, and we have now been kind of, we've worked with the council and understood our responsibility there. So this week, we have conducted all the noise testing ourselves. We have had agents and contractors there today to kind of finalise, and we've submitted all and accepted as well as what needs to be done by the Environmental Protection Office team to say exactly what we need to do, which includes measures today, some installation of noise reduction on the condensers, all of which we've agreed a timeline with Environmental Protection, which I think through George, who I know is not on the call today.
Now, you've applied previously to 2 a.m. and you've heard from residents that there is concern, well, one about crime and disorder, and secondly, the noise and public nuisance. Having heard those comments, do you take them on board, and would you be happy, for instance, to close the premises earlier than others, say at midnight, and to ask for an hour to just provide deliveries?
Yeah, I mean, I acknowledge certainly what we've heard today, and I think from a concession perspective, absolutely. I think this is a restaurant that has 6 chairs in it, so it's not a typical restaurant. McDonald's up the road, I think have got 60, 70 seats from what I remember of my visit there a couple of weeks ago. So our restaurant is ultimately not a fully set sit-in restaurant. So the business for me and for us is not to be able to offer hundreds of thousands of customers coming in. We actually anticipate on our own numbers, trading in 67 different cities across the UK, that actually the late night numbers of coming into our establishment is relatively low. So certainly this isn't an application that to look at hundreds of people coming into our restaurant. So yes, to answer your question, more than happy to concede the in-restaurant part.
And if the premises were closed, I mean, there's a lot of concern about how delivery drivers would accept their order, and would they be standing outside making a noise, revving engines or listening to music, whatever. How would you address that?
Yeah, so a few people have mentioned today that drivers are incentivized or bonused, I think I heard, by speed. It certainly isn't the speed of delivery that they measure. It's what we can measure in our industry, in our business, I guess, is rider wait time. So I am punished, and I am ultimately punished by aggregators, Deliveroo, Just Eat, etc., for keeping drivers waiting. That is the main measure in our business of what we do for drivers. So drivers absolutely, we're not hiding away from that. I can imagine wherever they congregate is where they will always congregate. So I don't think we'll add to that, but I appreciate the concern of the community. The way it works here is that we call the rider when the food is ready. So we have a button called Ready Now. You push the button, the driver arrives, pick up the food, and we get a financial penalty and what you call an algorithm penalty if we keep any drivers waiting for more than 2 minutes. So we are incentivized to not keep drivers waiting for the exact, I guess, concerns that has been raised today.
You're aware, I think, that there are some premises that actively act like a magnet for delivery drivers, where they sit outside waiting for a call. Is that something you're aware of?
Yeah, I mean, the algorithm is very simple. So when I'm predicting 11 orders per hour, if I was the operations director for McDonald's, I'd be telling you that I'm probably doing 600 orders per hour. And if you're a delivery driver, the closest you are to the establishment where the order is, the more chances you get to get the order. So when you see the congregation will always be next to the biggest serving unit in your neighborhood. And for you, I'm assuming that would, and it always is McDonald's. So the magnet, I guess, the hub will always be, but by a calculation of 50, 60 to 1, will always be outside the bigger establishment. And unfortunately for me, McDonald's always wins that financial game.
Thank you.
Can I hold on?
Of course.
Mr. Manning, why is your hand up?
I wanted to respond to 2 points.
No, you can. I'm sorry, you cannot ask question to any of them. It's up to community members to ask question. I'm afraid you can't, and you are not interrupted. Allow them to speak. Please do not interrupt. Thank you. Please carry on, Mr. McBrowning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, I won't take up much more of your time. Just to say that, you know, we have heard and we've listened to a lot of the matters that are being discussed today. I did have a brief chat with Mr. Schooling prior to this hearing, in which I tried to explain the reason why we had made the application in the way that we did. We had amended it, as you've heard. I am instructed to amend it even further today to, having looked at the statement of licensing policy, as you know, the recommendation for mixed use commercial areas is 1:30 and 1 o'clock, or 1 o'clock. We are happy to amend the hours so that the premises would close at midnight and have delivery only for 1 hour thereafter. So it would be within the statement of licensing policy. And of course, we would add all of the additional conditions that have been set out in the report. And of course, we would continue to liaise with all of our neighbours and take on board all of their concerns. And part of that is happening right this minute as we're trying to address the plant problems that they've had to put up with in the past. So I would commend the amended application to you to give Popeyes a chance to prove itself as a responsible operator and one that wants to work with the community and work with its neighbours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mark Browning. Now, finally, I'm going to ask the committee. Can I ask each committee member to ask question? Okay. Yeah, committee to ask question. And on issues, prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, protection of children from harm. Okay, I have Councillor Dominic Staunton, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, everybody. I'll try and keep this as brief as I can. I don't actually have too many questions for now, and I think, Chair, it's fair to say they all pretty much revolve around the question of public nuisance. I would like to ask the applicant, please. There were a number of suggestions or statements by the objectors today that they have proof that Popeyes has been opened past 11 p.m. and I would like you to address that, please.
Yes, I will address that straight away. We conducted an audit just before this hearing with the manager of the premises, and I have to say, and I will put my hand up entirely, I was horrified to hear that he was trading beyond 11 o'clock and didn't realize that the hours which we were applying for were from 11 p.m. and not from midnight. So he that is something he was doing. I said, it is, well, apart from being illegal, it must stop immediately. And Mr. Ewan has reinforced that in no uncertain terms.
Thank you for your active response. Okay, so the my second question, I think, really revolves around the noise created by the existing condenser unit. I understand that a new condenser unit, is that right, or some sound baffling or something is going to be installed? Could you just expand on that, just so the committee and also the residents can understand what changes are being made, since you've also had a sound survey? If you could perhaps share with us what values you received from that survey, if you already have the results of that, and then explain what the difference will be once the remediation work has been completed. And also, most importantly, I think the mention was made of agreed timescales. If you could share those with the committee, that would be very kind of you.
Absolutely. Mark, I'm happy to take this one. I'm just going to read out, because I'm not a contractor or a technical contractor, so I'm going to read out for you. So on Monday the 27th, an acoustic company visited site to perform a detailed noise survey. Chapman's, who's a contractor, will also attend to measure units and speed up the process and timelines, and suggested and implement alternative if required. Equipment will be left today, the 27th, on site for 24 hours for further data collection to assess the background noise level and individual contributions from all equipment at site. Data collection will be concluded on Tuesday the 28th, allowing for a comprehensive analysis. The next step will be that by the end of this week, we are aiming to receive a detailed report with recommendations for resolving the noise issue. The likely solution will be involve the design and installation of an acoustic enclosure. We are working on tentative timelines for this, but they are approximately, for design and manufacturing, we anticipate this between 2 and a maximum of 3 weeks from receipt of the report, which will be tomorrow. Installation and testing will be 1 week following the manufacture. The ongoing engagement will, following installation of the acoustic housing, a retest will be conducted to ensure compliance and the effectiveness of the solution, and we share the progress with the environmental health officer, which I think was George, with our findings to make sure that we come to an amicable conclusion.
Okay, so essentially, if I understood you correctly, the sound insulation could be in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, in 3. I think we'll be happy that we'd have tested everything in less. So again, measures and recommendations tomorrow. Actually building the thing will take up to, and I think that is a maximum of 3 weeks. You know, we've got very good contractors. We open a restaurant every week in the UK, so we can move at speed. But once we have that delivered within 3 weeks, it'll be installed the day after. And we just ask for 1 week installation and testing to make sure that once we've done it, it does what we and obviously the residents need it to do, which is to reduce the noise of the condenser. So I anticipate all of it concluded and chased up within 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask you or Mr. Browning a question, which would be: were the committee minded to grant this application in part or in whole, whether you would agree to a stay of the implementation of it until such time as the sound baffling was put in?
That's a question for Mr. Ewan.
And if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that we would pause until the equipment is tested and installed, right?
Satisfactorily, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Let me just check my notes. Okay, fine. So I think my last question really is, I'm not quite sure about this ready now button. So normally, I confess, and I apologise to all the residents here, I confess I use takeaways and deliveries myself, often. My understanding sometimes from when I kind of press the order button is you then see it saying that the delivery driver is at the restaurant, and it can be then, I mean, assuming that that's accurate, it can be then up to 20 minutes before the delivery driver is then leaving. This is the bit I don't know as a user. At what point does the little kind of message go up to the drivers that there will be an order? Do you want to take it?
Yeah.
And is this what about with the ready now button?
Yeah. So if I just so you place the order in your home, the order comes to me to our restaurant, we cook it. So there's two elements. There's an estimated time which you can go. So all the algorithms will tell you how long a chicken burger meal, box meal, whatever it is, will take. If the whole algorithm is worked on that the driver does not wait. When the food is ready, the team will look at the number. It's a Just Eat order, delivery order 1, 2, 3, 4. If the food is ready and there is no driver being called, then we push the order button, order ready button that calls on a driver to come and collect the food. And I am more than happy to submit to the group, should we require it, the results of our metrics for this restaurant. Is one of our best performing restaurants on metrics. And the measure here is over that time period. So we have a very minimal, I think from memory, looking at it obviously before the hearing, it's about 4% of our orders go over that deadline of time, which is 3 minutes. So your food is ready, I push a button, that calls the driver. Those drivers could quite easily be doing some McDonald's, could be doing KFC or anyone else. If they're available, normally they stand outside McDonald's, I call them, they get the call, they come and pick up the food and off they go to take that order. And just for our interest, and I know I've repeated it once, we have 6 chairs in this restaurant, so anyone who's passed it will see it has no room for more than 5 humans. The space in this restaurant is tiny, and what we do not want and can't have is also drivers with their big delivery bags, etc., in that restaurant. So we do a lot of work to make sure we do this ready call, which is I only need the driver when the food is ready.
Thank you. I mean, listening to the residents, I think, ironically, if there was space inside the restaurant for the drivers to wait, they would be happier. It's drivers waiting not in the restaurant that is often the issue. So
I appreciate it.
I genuinely question whether that's actually a positive or a negative for you, but that's kind of, we'll put that to one side. I only have one more question then, which was Mr. Browning, you said that you would reduce the requested hours to midnight and close and then 1 a.m. for deliveries. Is that 7 days a week? Because you currently have a split between Sunday to Wednesday and Thursday to Saturday.
We do. I mean, that was based on sort of making the reduction uniform throughout the week. I mean, on Sunday we might well not do the extra hour for delivery. So we'd close at midnight, and that would be that.
But what I'm saying is that those reduced hours are now basically Monday to Saturday, perhaps Sunday.
As I think before, they were Thursday to Saturday, close at 1 and close the public at 1 and close for deliveries at 2. What we'd now be saying is we'd close at midnight universally throughout the week and ask for an extra hour for deliveries whilst the premises are closed to the public.
So it's Monday, whether you close earlier on Sunday or not. That's basically Monday to Sunday.
Monday to Sunday, yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you, everybody. Chair, I may have some more questions after other members of the committee have asked questions, but from now that's me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I would just finish by saying there was some concern about opening early. We don't open early. The reason that those hours were given is simply a standard throughout the UK. Popeyes tries to have a universal standard for its restaurants. It now has 70 restaurants throughout the UK. I think Mr. Owen can vouch for the fact that they did try breakfast at one stage. It didn't work at these premises, and there is no intention to do any early opening. Is it before 10 or 11, Graham?
We open at 10:30 in the morning now.
10:30.
Thank you. Councillor Juan, you have any question?
Yes, I've got a couple of questions. First question is actually to Lorna, if that's okay. I didn't see in the report, unless I missed it, any kind of statement or anything from the local police. Were they approached and they just didn't have any comments, or it's on an application like this, we wouldn't go to them because there's no alcohol?
No, the police have been consulted. They were responsible authority on new premises applications, but from speaking with the police, and they haven't made any comments or any other suggestions. They were happy with the application as applied. Otherwise, they would have, if there was any conditions agreed or amendments, it would have been in the.
Okay, so they just didn't have any. Okay, that's fine, thank you. And then I'll go to Mr. Browning first. Ms. Browning, I'm just concerned about the what you mentioned earlier in the sort of miscommunication between the sort of operating hours and so on. So obviously we have reassurances from you and from Mr. Owan about everything that's being discussed and so on. But obviously that isn't very helpful if then that's not communicated or not understood by the management going forward. Are there any reassurances, or can you explain to us sort of how this will be conveyed, how it will be enforced, and whether you have one regular point of contact, sort of regular manager, or whether is it, I know this is an operational question, but just so you can either give some reassurance to both us and to the residents who are attending, that anything that we discuss, we can be confident, or we have a reassurance that it will actually be implemented and we won't get that kind of sort of breach that was mentioned earlier.
No, absolutely, Councillor, I take your point entirely. We've been opening restaurants quite quickly, and because of that, we've been recruiting staff on a fairly sort of extensive basis. I don't want to point the finger at anybody at all, but we had a new team on board, and it was misinterpreted. They thought it was midnight. They should have got the memo and realised it was 11. I think that has been dealt with internally, and I'd just like you to hear a bit more on that from the operations side.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate the same. Clearly, when we were midway to that today, I think we could see her make excuses that are none. So I think it should not happen. From a reassurance perspective, I think you have the highest operator in the business. I operate 70 restaurants. We've got 4,500 people that work under my remit, and I will personally ensure that the message of today's hearing, one, from what we've discovered today, but two, whatever the outcome of today's hearing is, we'll make sure that we land that message in our restaurants.
So if the residents had a complaint, if something went wrong and they needed, like an urgent noise complaint or kind of antisocial behaviour or something, who would they go to, and how quickly would they receive a response?
Well, I can't remember if there's a number, if there's a condition in our submissions. I'm sorry, I haven't got it right in front of me now, but as to whether we provide a phone number, but we're more than happy to add a condition to say that we would provide a telephone number for the restaurant manager so that any resident can get an instant response to legitimate concerns.
And would that manager have the authority to actually do something, to action something, to address these? Sort of how empowered are they? Are they like a proper branch manager? Or
well, they're very connected with head office. So if it was a matter that needed to go to head office, that would be done immediately and be acted upon. If it's a local restaurant related operations manager, like moving some rubbish or whatever, that sort of thing, they could do that immediately themselves.
Okay. No further questions from me, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Before we go on, can I ask Edwin to explain something about cumulative impact.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, just to clarify, I think there was a mention of a cumulative impact area on North End Road earlier on, and I think it's in Supplementary Agenda A at page 8. But just to clarify, that's for the gambling policy. That's for our new gambling policy and can't be considered for Licensing Act applications. Our licensing policy does talk about cumulative impact. We don't have zones in the borough, but it does say that cumulative impacts, or the idea of cumulative impact, can be considered where there are clustering of premises. But yeah, just to make that point that there's not actually a zone on North End Road. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay. After hearing from the residents around the noise with the delivery, so my question, okay. Okay, Councillor Stanton, you have a question? Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, I was going to wait until you'd asked your question.
No, you ask.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what my question is, and apologies to the residents. I meant to ask you this actually, which is having heard from the operations manager about the intention to do something about the noise of the compressor and the equipment. I just really wanted to know, and I guess the people that really mentioned this, there was Andrew, Jan, and Andrew, who specifically mentioned the noise of the condenser. Whether, and if I missed anybody out, I apologise. Whether that kind of makes you feel a bit more comfortable about this application.
Is it okay if I take it? Because I didn't get a chance to
yes, of course.
without my concerns. So what the applicants perhaps forgot to mention or not aware of is that the previous tenant, Nando's, indeed received noise complaints from the residents. However, they dealt with it in a very promptly manner by soundproofing the units. And the units were there when Popeyes moved in, so they saw the soundproofed units. However, at the construction stage, they chose to take them out. We did communicate concerns that the noise is going to come back. Construction crew were aware of it and said that they're going to communicate to the management. However, that did not happen, and they just apparently decided to ignore it for months and months now. They started construction in September. So they had months to fix the issues that they were aware of. And when I approached their manager on site about excessive refrigeration unit noise, he said to me, quote, "I have Heathrow planes flying above my house, so why are you complaining?" And that was the end of conversation for us with Popeyes. So whilst it makes me feel better to hear that, I just lost all the trust with this particular business tenant that they're gonna indeed fix the issue. We also just looked outside of our window and saw no equipment that the applicants mentioned to measure any sort of noise. There is nothing on the roof. We can see the unit from our window, so there is nothing that would make us think that they are indeed going ahead with the sound survey.
Well, I think, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the applicant here, but I would assume that if a report is being produced and a condition was put in that required that to be, I did say, successfully installed, that the council would want to see the results of that. So I would be fairly certain that there was actually equipment there, because I'm also fairly certain that Chima will be out checking and testing and confirming that there is no longer a statutory nuisance once this is all installed. Chima, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
excellent. Thank you. So Valerie, thank you for that. Jan or Andrew, do you have any comments regarding that?
Well, from my side, that's yeah. I mean, I agree with Valerie's remarks about it, and yeah, I'm hopeful, but past experience has not been so good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment. The noise right now, I cannot hear it. And this condenser unit, they can be switched on and off, depending on whether the property decides to switch them off or on. So if I were, say, deciding to pass the noise test and the equipment is there, I can switch off the unit for one night, pass it, and then switch it on. And the argument that my refrigerator unit will...
They have said they will be putting something in that the testing is to ensure that they know what they have to do to achieve it. So as I say, environmental protection will be checking this afterwards. So you can rest assured that something will be done.
I just don't hear the noise that I usually hear. That's
For sure.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. No, that's it from me now, Chair. Thank you.
Sorry, on my side, if I can that's fine. If I can add something on this, so what I can hear as well is not only noise, but it's also vibration, and you know, can they really do something about this? So it is very reassuring with what we're hearing, but obviously I'd like to see it, or at least I'd like to stop hearing it, to be precise. And so they're going to do testing outside, but you know, no one is going to come in my bedroom at the back of the building and test the noise there at midnight. So to me, I would feel reassured once I don't hear that noise in my bedroom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. That's it for me.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And can I ask Mr. Mark Browning, you mentioned that you heard about the breaches made in terms of the hours, over the hours, gone over the time given. How soon? When were you aware of this?
I was aware of it today, Madam Chair.
Today. So which means these people has been breaching all along, you know, going over the hours they were asked to stay.
It has been happening prior to today, yes, and I can assure you it's not happening any longer. But yes, we are very concerned about it, and all we could do was stop it immediately.
Okay. My other question is in terms of delivery. You know, I'm not sure. I don't know. I know he mentioned that the operator mentioned that they ask the people to come in for delivery. I don't know whether we have bikes around there wait for the delivery, as residents have said that there are always bikes waiting for delivery. So how will they be able? How will the premises be able to control those deliveries, because they are there talking amongst themselves, making or whatever they're doing? So how are you going to be able to control them?
Well, I think the whole point is we don't want delivery bikes hanging around. They hang around McDonald's, they hang around other restaurants where they may have a lot of orders every hour. So they're waiting outside simply for their little phone to go ping. They can pick up an order. And that's very irritating because they sit under people's windows, they talk, they often have engines on and things like that. As our operations director was saying, the important thing is to make sure that they only come by when the food is ready to collect. And that way they get given it, they don't wait, they don't stop, they get their food and they go. Because Popeyes ends up being fined or having to pay money for any bikes that are waiting longer than 3 minutes. So their intention is to get the driver in, give him the food and get rid of him onto the North End Road, and not disturb the residents in the process. That is the intention. There's a condition about that in the conditions that we've offered to ensure that the management of the restaurant makes very sure that drivers are sent on their way as quickly as possible. And again, there will be a phone number offered if you're minded to grant this application, where residents can get in touch with the manager and say that bike stopped for longer, they were talking or whatever, and we will be on it.
Okay. In terms of delivery, that is having their food delivered. So what time are they having their food delivered? Because residents complained about delivery time, the people comes to have their, not the bikes, the main delivery for the premises.
Right. So what we'd say is we would offer. So the amendment to our offer is to close the premises at midnight, so that nobody can come into the premises. No member of the public can come into the premises after midnight. So that it would close completely.
No, not those. Not I mean the van that delivers. They have. Do they have van?
Oh,
that
I see. I'm sorry. You're talking about morning deliveries.
Yes.
Right. Well, I don't know. Perhaps I could ask Mr. Iwan about that.
Yeah. So on this side, because we don't do breakfast, so we don't do early morning deliveries here. So the drivers for delivering food, breaks they're called, the big lorries that bring all the food, they come from 10 o'clock in the morning. So the window is between 10 and 12, I believe, Fulham. So they're normally 2 or 4 hour deliveries. Tends to be kind of anywhere close to central London. It tends to be between 10 and 12. Okay. But they are not before 10 because we don't have any of our workers there before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. The other thing residents mention is about litter around the premises. So how are you going to deal with that? The litter, people litter their food packages around there.
Most of our restaurants have a sweep that is carried out by staff to ensure that we keep our frontage clear of litter. And the second thing, there is a condition about putting rubbish out. We make sure that rubbish gets put out a short time before collection. Can you speak to that, Iwan, as well?
Yeah, exactly that. So from collecting rubbish ourselves, we go outside to do sweeps. I think probably you will all be aware of how tightly monitored external waste is on Fulham North Road. So I'm firmly aware of the CCTV system and the work that the council does to actually record any waste that we put outside our premises too early, too late, or left unattended. So we've got very stringent in the whole of London, but I know Fulham North Road in particular are keen and good to make sure we maintain that. So sweep the outside areas, and we are actively making sure there's no litter left outside, i.e. bin bags on the wrong days, etc., because that is forbidden. And we know that the CCTV cameras pick that up. I know many of our neighbours have told us, Amigos included. I believe Amigos, not to talk about competitors, but they've been fined 5 times at £500 a pop, I'm told, for doing exactly that. So we are very, very aware of the risk for us as a business to do so.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have much questions. Do committee members have more questions? Committee members?
Not from me, Chair.
No, nothing from me, Chair.
Okay. Okay. In that case, we are going to go to summing up. Can I have the licensing officer, Lorna, to sum up?
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask responsible authorities, like Chima, you have to sum up for 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Now, the 2 aspects I would like to address very quickly in terms of the condenser unit and the extractor system. Now, the applicant has mentioned about an assessment being carried out with regards to the noise. And of course, the report is going to be generated to determine what mitigating measures will be required. Now, 2 aspects are involved with regards to the noise. One is the structure-borne noise and the airborne noise. Now, there is no mention of what they tend to do about the structure-borne noise, which tends to be more prevalent and more difficult to mitigate. Now, from my assessment of what the explanation they made with regards to what they're proposing to mitigate the noise, the aspect of the vibration impact, which is related to structure-borne noise, has not been clarified. And I would like the applicant to comment on that aspect if there's sufficient time. Now, on the other hand, the other aspect is about the noise from the motorbike. Now, the applicant did mention that the time it takes to press the button for the delivery driver to come and pick up the food is approximately 3 minutes. Now, it takes about, from my recollection of my experience, it takes about less than a minute to wake somebody up from sleep. Now, my question to them is that at what distance will the motorbike be parked? And from the time the button will be pressed for the driver to come to the window or whatever, then to pick up the noise. Where will the motorcycle be parked in relation to the premises? And secondly, when will the moped drive to the pickup point, or will they drive off? At what point will they drive off in relation to the premises? Because it does have a bearing on the level of noise. We did mention that there is significant reduction in the level of noise at that time when they're proposing to start. So any little noise can wake up the resident. So I still have concern in that respect, and I need a little bit of clarification on that before I know.
Okay, thank you so much. We take we go to the objectors. You have 3 minutes is finished. Maybe he will sum up when he comes to answer. He will sum up. That is Mr. Mark will sum up. So when he sums up, he'll tell us what the intention to do. Okay, 3 minutes is up. So now I'm going to go to John. John Scolding, you have 21 minutes. John.
Hello, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, look, first of all, my heart goes out to Andre and Jan and Andrew, because what they describe is quite frankly terrible and not a situation that I think any local authority should be tolerating in any shape or form. So look, we've had a bit of a U-turn here, haven't we, if I'm putting it politely. In the application, we have statements from the applicant saying no cumulative impact, no licensing objective issues. Now they're admitting continuous illegal behaviour, breach of the license, and we're expected to believe that actually it's not really an issue for them. They're perfectly good at what they do. It's very nice to hear this stuff, but actually let's be realistic about the starting position. The reason they're in this situation is that they don't have any proper internal checks or management. They're opening restaurants, their skill is restaurants, managing restaurants, and yet lo and behold, one of them has slipped through the net. The reason they're not close enough to their site, they're not close enough to what's going on, and that's the reason why we've had illegal breaches for so long, but now apparently it's all going to be fine. Apparently they don't wait around at Popeyes. The drivers, I think we were told, wait at McDonald's. We were also told that it won't be 15, it'll be 11. Well, that's all quite frankly hearsay. It could be 11, it could be 20, it could be 23. The numbers are potentially huge. And McDonald's are not going to sit there and do nothing and go, oh, look, we've lost 11 orders to Popeyes. They're going to fight back. They're going to create more incentives and generate and drive bigger business, because they're not going to sit there and roll over and do nothing. What we are experiencing is the cutting end of competitive markets that drive business. You know, what we've heard about drivers pressing the whatever button it was and turning up, that's their design to stop financial penalty for Popeye. It's got nothing to do with the residents. The drivers, we heard very clearly, I believe, from Jan's being outside the gates. They're on our roads. They're not just McDonald's. I can name 4 or 5 other roads where they are. They decide to meet from time to time. They hang around. They wait for the buzzer to go, and they turn up at the venue and collect the delivery in a way that ensures, quite rightly, obviously nobody wants Popeye to have a financial fine, but it doesn't stop huge numbers of delivery drivers being brought to the area. And so, look, you can probably gather there is a deep vein of skepticism. I don't think we should be using the licensing process to reward applicants where they have admitted breaches and illegality. That's a very strong view, but I'm afraid I think they have to perform for a year or so and comply with their basic license before they obtain any benefits and any advantages. Just a little technical point. Emmanuel was absolutely right, I think, and was Adrian when they were talking about selective licensing. It's not that it can't be referred to. It's not binding, on a licensing procedure. But if it has some relevance, then there is no reason why it cannot be referred to. But of course, the councillors are not obliged to take it into account. The reason why selective licensing on page 5 of Appendix B is relevant is because it targets area where levels of antisocial behaviour and noise problems are above average. That's the important takeaway from this. The problem is significant and large and needs addressing. These arrangements aren't going to address it. I think what's being proposed, if I've understood it correctly, are additional hours now where everyone closes at midnight for 7 days a week, but opens till 1. Well, of course, in the guidelines, and it is only guidelines, I admit, you only get 1 o'clock in mixed-use areas for Friday to Saturday. Monday to Thursday should be 12 midnight, and Sunday should be 11 o'clock. So actually what is being suggested as a compromise, a further cutback, is in fact still in excess of the guideline hours, and at 1 o'clock goes into the small hours of the night, potentially 7 days a week, maybe 6 if they don't do it for Sunday. They're all very nice words, but where are the legally enforceable conditions in the license? Where's the stuff that residents can really rely on to go and have as a stick when it all goes wrong? I think Valerie put it very well in that levels of trust and reassurance are relatively low in relation to this particular site and this particular applicant. So if I stand back a bit, I think, you know, how come we're getting all these changes now? Well, I think when the application went in, it was partly misconceived. It didn't understand the area. It didn't understand the noise nuisance issues. It didn't understand the above average crime. It labelled us as commercial, not residential. And I think all of that is hugely problematic, and it started from the wrong place. I do accept, and of course, Mr. Browning is right to refer to Chicken Cottage. So we now have 4 out of 32 takeaways and traders who have the extended hours. I would say that there are very good reasons in residentially heavy areas where as a matter of policy, no late night opening for deliveries or otherwise should be allowed for exactly the crime and noise nuisance issues that we have heard, you know, very direct evidence of this evening. So I think, because I'm mindful that you've given me 21 minutes, but nobody's going to thank me for talking for 21 minutes. In addition to thinking that it was or is still misconceived, and whilst it is nice to hear all this, I'm not sure it's the right response. I think if you take these issues seriously, there needs to be a period of compliance. We need to understand and trust that Popeyes can do that. If that's met, then that's a very good starting point, but I absolutely don't think this committee should be granting an application, even on the cutback hours, where, quite frankly, the applicant has walked in and said, I'm breaching the license. Oh, sorry, my management systems were rubbish. I didn't realize it was happening under my nose. I only found out today, and miraculously, I've got someone looking at it. Great. You know, it's a start, but it's not, I think, where we should end up. And I implore the committee to reject. I want to stay at 11 o'clock. I think there needs to be a period of trading, not a pause. There needs to be a period of trading where this operator can prove that they can comply with basic licensing terms. The noise issues, I think it was Andre who mentioned 54 decibels. I mean, just to put that in context, in bedrooms before 11 o'clock, there are British standards and indeed World Health Organization standards around 35 decibels being a point at which sleep can be impaired, 30 decibels and up to 45 decibels in certain areas. So the noise that they're experiencing at the moment and the vibration is quite frankly shocking. And the noise that we experience, and You know, here we go. I'm a bit of a geek. Yes, I've got a sound level meter, and I too have taken decibel readings from the second floor, my bedroom furthest away from the road, with all my windows closed, and they exceed the British standard noise requirements as backed up by the World Health Organization. Cannot underestimate how intrusive this noise issue is. So for all the reasons, whether it's to do with breach of a license, whether it's to do with the vicinity in the residential area, I don't agree with passing the buck to everyone standing outside McDonald's. That's just unrealistic, quite frankly, and again, possibly shows not the greatest knowledge of the area. But you know, leaving that aside, committee, I would ask you to go for relatively late opening, but closing at 11 for 7 days a week. And I think I'll leave it at that, if only because I get a brownie point for keeping it to 10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Can I have Charlotte? Charlotte, you have 9 minutes. Please, no repetition of what's been said before.
Yes, thank you. I commend all of this to the committee. Some progress perhaps has been made, but we Berkeley Road residents and those I'm representing, which are approximately 400 residents, would suggest that the application should be rejected at this time, and perhaps we'll see Popeyes at some other time when they've learned a bit more about our North End Road. I'd like to quote from the licensing policy, and our leader says we want to create a vibrant and safe and considerate nighttime economy. We want to support the revival of nightlife with more well-managed late licenses in non-residential areas. And I go back to that chart, which is not based in law. It's suggestive. It's a guideline. We're finding that guideline is not working with the new delivery economy. It's juxtaposed against developments that were not even considered a few years ago when the previous licensing policy was put together. So we need to protect residents. The Licensing Act gives you the power to do that under the 4 objectives. And we request very strongly and with much compassion that you consider us, the residents. What is Fulham? What is Hammersmith? But residents, buildings, a few key roads, lots of dogs, lots of beautiful open space and common land. We need peace and quiet, and we need silence at night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. I'm going to ask Valerie, you have 3 minutes to sum up because Mr. Manning, you spoke last time, morning. So can I have Charlotte, okay? And Valerie, so you have 3 minutes to sum up.
Well, I think a lot has been said already, and it's been a very long hearing, and I just like to, thank the council for, giving us the time to speak. And we've heard both sides, I guess, and I would just, again, as John said, implore the council to have a look at what's been said and, give us, the reassurance by delaying the decision and not allowing Popeyes to operate later than 11 p.m. And I am very grateful that our complaints about the noise finally have been heard by the council, and something perhaps is going to be done. And that's it. I'm not going to repeat myself.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now we have Jan. And Jan, are you there? You're going to be speaking on behalf of Stefano and Sean. So
yes.
you have...
I'll keep it short because a lot has been said already. I think my main concerns were voiced and hopefully heard, especially about the structural noise. To me, the key here is to find the right balance between the residents' needs and business needs. And I think the current legal hours is the right balance, and so I oppose to extend these hours past 11 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Before I have Sarah, can I have Andrew? Andrew, are you here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have 3 minutes to sum up.
Yeah. From my side, yeah, like I've said, a lot has been said. I think I've said really all I can about it. From my side, I hope that Popeyes has heard us, and I appreciate the council for taking the time. And yeah, I look forward to what happens next. And yeah, they should be limited to 11 as the operating hours. And that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Now I have Sarah. Sarah Chambers, you have 3 minutes to sum up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of the ward panel, which represents all the residents of the ward, the thousands of residents of the ward, I would like to ask the council to continue to object to the application and to keep the current licensing hours to 11 p.m. I'm continue to be mindful of the fact that this is the official crime and antisocial behaviour hotspot of Fulham, which takes up a lot of resources from the police and from the council. I'm also mindful of the noise pollution and also the air pollution from all the deliveries. The residents of the side streets, the 25 side streets, who will be the places where the motorbikes and the e-scooters, etc., will be sitting waiting for the deliveries. As the environmental officer pointed out, that if the scooters aren't, or the motorbikes are not directly parked on the North End Road, they will be very close by. They will be on the side streets. They will be waking people. We will have additional pollution, and we will have additional antisocial behaviour and crime. Please listen to the objections and keep the hours to 11 for both deliveries and for the premises to be open. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Now I'm going to have Mr. Browning to speak, and I'm going to allow you 35 minutes.
Thank you. I hope I won't take too much time. I'd simply say, in relation to Chima's comments, that we are obviously working in conjunction with the Environmental Health Department at the moment. We're doing exactly what his colleague George is asking us to do. So I think introducing anything else is something I can't really comment on, because we're working with George and doing everything that he's asking us to do specifically. I think we've heard what the residents have to say. I think you have to look at this with balance and with fairness. We made an application. We heard that there were a lot of concerns, and so we have drastically amended it and reduced it. You have a policy, a statement of licensing policy, that does not have a cumulative impact area. If this is such an area, it needs to be considered, and the residents need to take it to committee to make a cumulative impact area specifically for North End Road. We've made an application in line with a lot of other premises in order to be able to trade on a fair and even keel. Those premises, as you've heard, some of them trade till 2 a.m., others till 1:30, etc. And we are cutting our hours back below that. So we're saying, give us a chance to trade successfully, reasonably, fairly. Let's have a balance between the concerns of the residents and the right of the business to conduct its normal operations. Of course, with robust conditioning, which we have proposed and which will be a considerable extra bonus to residents because they will have a means to specifically enforce the way that the premises operate. And I think that's all I want to add at this point, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. The committee will now retire to take its decision in a separate meeting room. You are welcome to remain in the meeting to hear committee's decision. However, this might take some time. If you do not want to wait, a summary decision will be published on Council's website tomorrow morning. Can I ask members to turn off their video, mute their microphone, and join me in a private meeting room for deliberation? Charles? Charles?
Yes.
Okay. Could you let Councillor Daniel? Okay, you're in. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. Summary decision of the licensing subcommittee, 27th January 2025. Popeyes, 348 North End Road, South, SW6 1NB, the premises. The committee has considered an application for a new premises license for late night refreshment indoors and outdoors under the Licensing Act 2003. The application, in summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and promotion of 4 licensing objectives, to 1. To grant the application as follows: provision of late night refreshment indoors and outdoors, Monday to Saturday, 23 hours until 00 hours. Provision of late night refreshment outdoors only, Friday and Saturday, 00 hours until 0100 hours. Delivery only, no access to members of the public. 2. The hours open to the public Monday to Saturday is 10 a.m. till 00 hours till 12 midnight. Sundays, 10 a.m. till 11 o'clock p.m. 3. The license is subject to any mandatory conditions. The license is subject to the condition volunteered by the applicant in the operating schedule and amended by committee. 5. The license is also subject to condition imposed by the committee. A noise management plan detailing the noise installation to be implemented shall be submitted to and approved in writing by environmental protection team. 2. The licensing shall not be implemented until the noise installation has been installed and tested to the satisfaction of environmental protection team. 3. The contact details of the manager of the premises and the contact details of any operational manager from the head office shall be displayed so that it is visible for members of the public to lodge complaints. 4. A responsible member of staff shall organize and accommodate meeting to discuss the operational of the premises with residents at least 2 times per calendar year. The meeting shall be advertised at least 14 days before the due date by letter to residents and residents association in the locality as well as the licensing authority. If problems are experienced, then an application for review of the premises license can be made. A copy of this committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the condition added to the license, shall be sent to the parties forthwith. If applicants or any person who has made a relevant representation is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to magistrate court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. Thank you all for attending and thank you for watching.